Hi, friends and companions along this path of spiritual practice. Maybe you recognize these names: Bobby Fischer, Boris Batsky, Garry Kasparov. If you know these names, you know that these are chess masters who play the game beautifully. When I was much younger, I had an opportunity to learn from a teacher who loved this game of chess. And he would often talk about Spassky and Kasparov. And we didn't realize it then, but his students, we were all learning not only the game of chess, but we were being invited to reflect on life and how to move through life wisely. Early on, my teacher would often talk about two strategies that we were to learn. The first was playing the game of chess for material advantage. Each piece in chess has a numerical value, and so this strategy of material advantage was to take more of your opponent's pieces out of the game, or to make sure that your opponent would not remove too many of your pieces. So in the end, you have more points at play in the game. You have a material advantage. And the basic philosophy is that a material advantage, if you play it well, would make it more likely for you to win the game. The second strategy was much more difficult. It was not material advantage. It was immaterial and intangible because it was about positional advantage. By placing your pieces in such a way so that the placement and the relationship among the pieces would give you that positional advantage to checkmate your opponent. Because after all, in the end, checkmate is nothing other than a positional advantage that allows you to win the game. But because positional advantage means that you had to see the complex and often messy ways that the chessboard was configured, of how you and your opponent were moving your pieces in relationship, that oftentimes for young players, it just becomes too complicated to see all of the interdependent connections that were being created. My teacher would say, if it becomes too complicated, then you need to convert positional advantage into material advantage, or if you will, you need to convert your reputation that you're building into a career, a job, into money. But Spassky, Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, these great masters of chess would often risk a gambit, risk sacrificing, because they love the game so much that in the end it was not about material advantage so much as it was about the beauty, the art and poetry of seeing the relationships at play. Complicated, messy, dangerous, risky, but also so beautiful. I think about our spiritual practice. I think about Zazen and meditation. And I think about Buddhism's assertion that awakening is an awakening into the beautiful and messy and complex relationship of an interdependent reality. And sometimes when it's too complicated, we want to simplify things and remove the pieces. But as we continue in our practice, we find our way into the beauty of an interdependent reality. At first, it begins with sympathy, with relationships with others who are somewhat like us, those who are sympathizers with our politics, with our values. But then we step even further out beyond the walls of sympathy to empathizing with those who are different from us, whose differences cause us to risk our own positions for the sake of a shared dignity and human worth. But Buddhism moves even further than sympathy and empathy into recognizing this interconnectedness that radically states that what I am is constituted by my relationship with you. That it goes beyond touching the feeling of sympathy and empathy to the very nature of our reality, constituted by nothing other than mutual interdependence. This karuna, this compassion, is more than affect, is more than emotion. It is awakening to reality of interdependence. Friends, we are recognizing as we move further in this pandemic and as herd immunity remains elusive, that we have a long journey to go before we apprehend and realize that there is nothing other than interdependence. That interdependence constitutes everything. And so, friends, we continue with our spiritual practice.